Our next guest, drafted 29th by the Spurs in 1995, had an incredible UVA career, incredible NBA career, playing 10 years. He now coaches at Oak Hill, has his own academy, and is an ESPN basketball analyst. Let's welcome Cory Alexander.
It's like a step up here.
Thanks for joining us. Cory, thanks so much for joining us.
Cory. I appreciate it. All the love. I don't think you actually realize, and many people here don't realize, I'm from here. Waynesboro, throw the dubs up, please. Throw your dubs up. So when I was in school, I'm not sure how many of y'all know what a townie is.
Yep.
But I used to get called a townie all the time because I'm from Waynesboro. I'm right up 20 minutes away. So I was pretty much a townie in Charlottesville.
They produced a damn good player in Waynesboro, I'll tell you that. I'll tell you that.
Cory, we first met in Georgia, Peach Jam, in summer of 2015 in a restaurant. We bumped into each other. We just started kicking it. And I felt such a level of comfort from the former players to the incoming players. And I was like, this is a really good space. You've had a major impact on a lot of players that have come to UVA. Justin, right? You were sort of really involved in the decision making of Justin and Devin coming here. How did that go down?
Well, we'll start with, and it was interesting listening to Chris talk about retirement. And I can remember back in 2003, and I'm getting toward the end of my playing career. And I did an article with, I'm sure you guys know Doug Dowdy, who has been UVA, is a UVA alum and UVA beat writer forever. Yeah. And Doug asked me, what are you going to do when you finish playing basketball? And I told him, I said, I'm going to go be the head coach at the University of Virginia. So thanks, Tony. That's never going to happen. But coaching and basketball was always the plan. When I finished playing, I had a couple of years where I pretty much didn't do much of anything. I stayed home, raised my son, hung out with him. But then I got involved in summer basketball. And I always did training, I always did workouts. My first basketball camp was actually the summer I got drafted. And so I always had that passion to help young people learn life through sports, the game of basketball, which was my thing, but show people how to have successful lives because of it.
Right.
And which ended up going to me coaching at Boo Williams. And my first year coaching at Boo Williams, I had this guy on my team. And so when Coach Bennett talks about gray hair, so this is 10 years ago, and I didn't have much then, but kid from Fredericksburg, actually I think it's Montrose, Virginia. Always reminded me of Chris Brown, looked like Chris Brown coming up. Could jump out the gym, young, athletic, great personality. So I got to coach Justin, and for our first opportunity coaching Justin, he quit the team. Believe it or not, he quit. And so Justin was already committed to go to Maryland. He transferred to EYBL. He was already committed to go to Maryland. And Gary Williams steps down, as he talked about earlier, and his dad called me. And even though he left the team, he still worked out with me. And his dad called and said, Cory, what do we do? And I said, well, Ed, there's a great school in Charlottesville that I think he would fit very well. How about let's go have a conversation with Coach Bennett and see how that works out? And
they committed for me, by the way.
That went very well. And then, of course, I coached Devin Hall, had the opportunity to coach Devin. The first time I saw Devin play, I got in the car when I left. I called Jason Williford, And I said, I found the next guy for UVA after Justin. And they actually were, when you left the team for that one event, Devin actually took Justin's place. And so I got to coach Devin for 2 years, and pleasure to be around him, pleasure to coach him, great kid, but he actually fit what we're all about. And so those two guys they're from the state of Virginia. They're UVA type of guys. And so I didn't ask them to come to UVA. They said, no, I just always kind of subtly reminded them, hey, there's a great program right here where you could go be special, and both those guys had the opportunity to do so.
I got to hang out with Justin last night, so I understand the whole gray hair thing.
You get it.
I think what was so cool about being able to be around Cory and his training is he understood something that I didn't understand yet. Yeah. And that was the NBA game, and that's where I wanted to be. I didn't care about what I had to go through in college. I knew what I wanted my end result to be. So I trusted him with my career, with my path in life, because he's been there already, right? And that's what we all have our mentors for. We all have people that we aspire to be like. Young fellas sitting here in the front, we have people that we choose to be. And my high school coach always told me this: you don't choose to be a role model, someone chooses you. It's no coincidence that I played at a private school in high school. It's no coincidence that I came here to UVA in Charlottesville. Cory did as well. It's no coincidence that I play in the NBA. Cory did as well. It's no coincidence that I'm up here being able to have a conversation and on a microphone. Cory does it as well. Yeah. It's important for us to choose mentors, and I'm extremely grateful that you've been a great role model for me personally. And it's crazy what we're going to be able to accomplish in the future, but I just wanted to share my appreciation for you and that deserves a round of applause for sure.
Now, before you guys clap too loud, and I definitely appreciate that, but before you clap too loud, he has told me privately he's going to take my job when he finishes playing. So don't think he's that great of a guy, because he's told me I'm coming for your job. So, but I appreciate that. I love the competitive nature that he has.
That's what makes the relationship, is the competitive nature. So one question, and my best friend is here, Cody Kreiser. I don't know where he is. He's running around here, maybe in the back. He's the reason why Cory and I connected as well I realized Cory was just cool. I mean, you see his shoes right now. Mark wanted to ask a question about tennis shoes.
We'll get to that later.
Oh, we want to wait?
Yeah.
All right. That later. We got a good question for you.
Your freshman year, 11 points a game. Your sophomore year, 19 points a game at a time when it was fairly rare for freshmen and young underclassmen to get a lot of playing time. You were highly recruited. Thank goodness there weren't cell phones. Otherwise, you might not be at UVA. You may not have been a UVA alum.
Well, and it's a crazy story, and one of the things about me is different from most of the people that you'll hear. Today, we heard Chris talk, we talked about Justin's story, and people always ask me about how could I have played for Tony Bennett, this, that, and the other. My playing style, I'm not sure, would have fit, but the thing that would have benefited me most from playing for Tony Bennett would have been the first pillar of the 5 pillars of success, which is humility, because that was never my thing. And I was the kid in high school that really recognized his value. My goal was to play in the NBA. That's the only thing that I was concerned about. So in the fall of 1990, and official visits were different then, I was on my official visit to the University of Virginia. The following weekend, I was scheduled to go to Georgia Tech. When I got to Georgia Tech, I was committing to Georgia Tech. The coaching staff at Virginia knew it. Everyone knew it. When I was on my visit here, Travis Best committed to Georgia Tech. Bobby Crimmins is calling everyone that he can in Charlottesville to try to get in touch with me. He's calling my head coach at Oak Hill, Steve Smith, this, that, and other. No cell phones in 1990. He doesn't get in touch with me. When I get back to Oak Hill, I find out that Travis Best is committed. I won't speak to Bobby Crimmins. I'm pissed. So I reopened my recruitment because I really never considered Virginia. It was one of my schools, but never considered it. And reopened my recruitment and allowed Jeff Jones to really recruit me after that point. And turns out it was the best fit all along. Oftentimes you can't see the trees amongst the forest right in front of you, but it was the best place for me. if it hadn't been for 2 broken ankles, I would have had an unbelievable 3 years. I would have never made it 4.
Right.
But, the best decision I could have made, and oftentimes you don't make that decision. Justin was going to Maryland. I was going to Georgia Tech. But it's amazing. And another thing, of course, what Tony talks about is faith. I have great faith as well. And God don't make mistakes. No such things as coincidences. And, again, I was here for a reason.
As an ESPN announcer, you have supporters, but you also have detractors. Non-UVA fans beat you up for being too biased. UVA fans say you don't give UVA players enough credit. Are you thinking about that while you're on the air?
I am not. One thing for certain with me, especially with television, is if you speak the truth, you never have to remember the lie. And so therefore, whatever I say, I mean it. And I stand behind it. And, it's amazing. And I look at, of course, and quick break, please give locker room access and these gentlemen a huge hand for what they're doing, especially for, I'll go selfish and say my alma mater. But I looked at one of the T-shirts upstairs. And when I walked in, I saw it, and it was London Parentes doing this. For those of you who remember it, it was at Virginia Tech. Now, they had on the white uniforms, but it was at Virginia Tech, and I'm doing the game. And I'm going nuts on the microphone. London hit probably 7 threes, and he had run off like 4 straight. And I'm on the microphone saying, nobody wants to see London Parentes. And I get back to ACAC, where I, work out all the time. It's Phil here. Shout out to Phil Wendell, our guy, of course. And I hear people saying to me, you could be nicer to UVA. But on Twitter, Virginia Tech fans are killing me. And so I knew this before then, but the reality behind it is, in that business, you can't win. Someone is not going to like what you say.
Sure.
Fortunately, the good Lord gave me that bone to where I don't really care what a lot of people think. Now, I will say that is different with my family, and my family wears orange and blue. You know who you are. But when Tony Bennett, Jason Williford, Carla Williams, Justin Anderson, Devin Hall, Ty Jerome, when those guys appreciate what I'm saying, and I can walk up to my guys and dap them up and hug them, and it's love, I don't worry about the rest of this stuff.
All right, we got a couple of questions left.
You smiling. This is going to be a good one.
I got 2 good ones. Who wins in a game to 21, 3s and 2s, 94-95 team or 2019 team?
Oh, man. I will say this. Our team was more talented throughout the whole roster. Now, there are 3 pros on the 2019 team. 3 NBA players, more pros. Style of play, and this was hard for me to get past, right? Because as a player, you always think, I could do something greater than even maybe you've done. But defensively, this team was so great. And what you've seen, not just this past year, but for the last 2 seasons, even the team that lost to UMBC, the chemistry amongst those teams has been phenomenal. And that's the difference between good teams and great teams, is the chemistry and the brotherhood in that locker room and how those guys get along. That is probably the reason I would give them the edge over us, and which is tough. Now, remember, I got hurt in 95, so I didn't play.
Talk about with the healthy Cory Alexander.
Nobody beats us there. But I will say this, though. The 2019 National Championship, University of Virginia, Wahoos. I'm not sure if they beat the 2013-2014 ACC champion Wahoos. I was at Madison Square Garden yelling frantically as if I lost my mind when they did not call the foul with Tevin, because that was a national championship team. And I'm going to tell you, and I've had this battle with UVA, man. When I made a comment last year about how great a job Tony was doing because it wasn't the most talented team that he had. The most talented team that Tony has had, London, Malcolm, Joe, Akil, Mike Tobey. You come off the bench with Justin Anderson, Darian Atkins, Anthony Gill, Evan Nolte. I mean, when you look at that lineup, and my favorite moment of all time with this UVA group, since Tony's been here, and I was doing radio when Tony first came here, the 2014 ACC tournament, behind the curtain, I'm sure you probably remember this, and the cameras are following me, and I told them turn the cameras off. And I got a chance to talk to my guys. And I've been in the gym with Justin, with Malcolm, with Joe, with Devin, spending time with those guys. And I asked them, I said, make them remember you. This is the team that will make the University of Virginia remember you. And again, I go back and, hey, national championship, nothing like it. I can brag to Grant Hill. I can brag to all my friends about the fact we won the national championship. But that 2013, 2014 team, that was my crew right there.
I wish Coach Bennett was still here for that one.
Last question, we got to wrap you up. You're at the shoes, Justin's in the shoes. Whose shoe game is tighter?
Mine.
Why?
That's not even really much of a question.
It's not a conversation.
That's not even a conversation.
Give me 2 reasons why, and I'll let Justin give his response.
Statute of limitations don't apply to him because I've given him shoes. So whenever you give somebody shoes, their shoe game can never be better than yours.
That's a fair point.
Isn't that fair?
That's a fair point. That's
Right.
A
Are you conceding?
That's a fair point.
Are you conceding?
Say it again.
Are you really conceding?
Not at all.
That would be a first.
With him? Not at all. Not at all.
He can't because he'll never give up an argument. And I will tell you this too. When he just said earlier today that people didn't know that he thought about transferring after his sophomore year.
Right.
Do you realize I got a phone call every day?
I could never imagine that.
It was Tony Bennett. It was Jason Williford. The next day it was Tony Bennett. Then it was Jason Williford. He drove them nuts. So if you don't imagine, if Tony Bennett had to say one guy that was the most difficult guy throughout his tenure at University of Virginia to coach, he'll give Ty some credit, but it's that guy right there. No question about it. So,
major surprise.
yeah.
We thank you. We
Thanks so
appreciate
much.
you.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you guys for
Really
what you're
appreciate
doing.
it. Come back and see us. We'll see you on ESPN.